I never thought I'd feel so stuck. Not like this, not in my 20s, with my whole life supposedly ahead of me. But here I am, sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a stack of bills that never seems to get any smaller, feeling like I'm sinking in a tide of expenses that just keep rising, while my paycheck barely budges. It's like I'm trapped in a system designed to hold me down, no matter how hard I work or how carefully I budget. Every day feels like a balancing act on a tightrope that's fraying at the edges. Rent eats up a huge chunk of what I make, rent that's climbed steadily over the past few years, faster than my wage increases. Utilities, groceries, student loans, phone bill, insurance, they all chip away at what's left. And then there's the unexpected, a broken heater in winter, a car repair, or a medical copay. Those hit like punches to the gut, because there's no real cushion to fall back on. I've learned the hard way that there's no such thing as extra money when you live paycheck to paycheck. I'm constantly making decisions that feel more like sacrifices. Should I get groceries or refill my prescription? Can I afford to take the bus or do I have to walk, even if it's pouring rain? Do I splurge on a night out with friends, knowing it might mean eating ramen for the next few days? These choices used to seem small, but now they weigh heavy on my chest every single day. It's exhausting. I feel like I'm always counting, not just dollars, but minutes, calories, the exact number of times I can say no before it breaks me. The pressure isn't just financial, it's emotional. The stress keeps me awake at night. I lie there, heart racing, mind swirling with worries about what might come next. I can feel it gnawing away at my confidence, my sense of self-worth. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm failing somehow, if I'm not smart or hardworking enough to get ahead. I know it's irrational, but the system is so unforgiving that it makes you blame yourself. It's easier than admitting the truth, that the system itself is broken. There's a loneliness in this, too. I watch friends talk about buying their first homes, traveling, saving for weddings. Meanwhile, I'm here, postponing everything. Dreams I used to have, going back to school for that degree, starting a small business, even just moving to a neighborhood where I don't have to worry about noise all night or unsafe streets, feel like distant fantasies. They aren't impossible, exactly, but they're so far out of reach that it hurts to think about them. To cope, I've had to get creative. I clip coupons like it's a sport. I've learned to cook meals from scratch that stretch a week's groceries into 2. I track every cent with an app, trying to squeeze out any little savings. I've found solace in small rituals, a walk in the park, a chat with a neighbor, or losing myself in a book borrowed from the library. Those moments are precious pockets of peace in a life that often feels like chaos. But honestly, sometimes I just want to scream. To shout that this isn't the life I imagined. That I'm more than just a line on a spreadsheet or a budget item to be slashed. I want to believe things will get better. I want to hold on to hope that I can break free from this cycle, find stability, and maybe, someday, breathe without that constant, heavy weight on my chest. I'm still holding on to those dreams, even if they're postponed. Because what else can I do? Giving up isn't an option. Not when this life, hard as it is mine to live and shape. So I keep going, one day at a time, one small victory after another, hoping that someday soon, the system will shift, or I'll find a way around it. Until then, I'm here, doing the best I can, with what I have. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I don't even remember when it all started feeling impossible. Maybe it was the first time my rent increased, or the moment I realized my paycheck didn't stretch as far as it used to. Sometimes, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when you get trapped in a system that keeps pushing you down, but the weight is always there, pressing, relentless, like a storm cloud you carry everywhere. I'm 26. I graduated college with hope, some student loans, and a vague plan that hard work would eventually pay off. But here I am, years later, still struggling to keep up. Every month feels like a tightrope walk. Rent is due, utilities pile up, groceries take more than I want to spend, and somehow the price of everything seems to increase faster than my income. It's exhausting. The economic environment isn't just numbers and inflation reports on the news, it's real, it touches every decision I make. I think twice before turning on the heater in winter or buying a coffee in the morning because that's $3 that won't go toward a bill. I've stopped going to the gym because the membership is too expensive now, even though I know my mental health needs it. I say no to invites from friends because even $10 for a night out feels like too much when rent is looming. I hate how these financial worries creep into my self-worth. There are nights I lie awake, heart pounding, wondering how I'll cover next month's expenses or what I'd do if something unexpected happened, like a medical bill or a car repair. Anxiety wraps around me so tight I feel like I'm drowning in it. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, am I just not trying hard enough? Am I failing somehow? But then I remember it's not just me, the system is stacked against people like me, young adults trying to find footing in a world that feels designed to keep us struggling. Being trapped in this cycle is suffocating. Expenses rise relentlessly, but wages barely budge. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much I try, the hole keeps draining me dry. I budget carefully, cut unnecessary expenses, work extra hours when I can, but it never feels like enough. The frustration is constant and it chips away at my hope. I have dreams, so many dreams, that feel more like distant memories than possibilities now. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to experience things outside this bubble of stress. I wanted to buy a home someday, maybe even start a family. But I've had to shelve those dreams, indefinitely. Saving for a down payment? Impossible when I can barely save $50 a month. Starting my own business? Too risky when every dollar counts just to keep the lights on. Coping with this reality isn't easy. I lean on small things, walking instead of taking the bus, cooking meals at home instead of eating out, finding free ways to unwind and connect with friends. Sometimes I use mindfulness apps to calm my racing mind. And I try to remind myself that I'm not alone, even if it often feels that way. But the emotional toll is real. Financial pressure seeps into every corner of my life. It affects my relationships. I don't want to burden friends with my stress, so I often keep quiet. It impacts my confidence. I hesitate to apply for better jobs because they might require more qualifications or experience I don't have time or money to pursue. It even clouds my future, making it hard to believe that better days are coming. Still, I hold on to hope. I know this system isn't fair, but I believe in a future where I can breathe easier, where my hard work can finally catch up to my bills. I dream of a day when I don't have to choose between paying rent and eating well, when I can invest in myself without fear, when I can plan for a family without anxiety. This story isn't just mine, it's the story of so many young adults caught in the same relentless cycle. I'm sharing it not because I want pity, but because the truth needs to be heard. Being honest about the struggle is the first step toward change, for me and for all of us. So here I am, worn down but still standing, hoping, trying, and dreaming despite the odds. I'm 27, and I feel like I'm running on a hamster wheel that's speeding up, but no matter how fast I run, I'm still stuck in the same place. It's exhausting. I wake up every morning with a pit in my stomach, already anxious about money before my feet even hit the floor. It's a slow, persistent pressure that never really goes away, like drowning but only being able to take quick shallow breaths. When I graduated college, I thought I'd have some control over my life by now. I imagined having a steady job, maybe renting a decent apartment without fear, saving some money, even thinking about buying a home someday. But the world had other plans. The cost of living has exploded, especially rent and groceries. Meanwhile, my paycheck has barely budged in years. It feels like I'm caught in a system designed so expenses climb faster than income, and I'm stuck trying to keep up with that impossible race. Every day, money dictates my choices. Simple decisions that most people probably don't think twice about have become mine to agonize over. Should I buy a full tank of gas and risk stretching my budget too thin? Or fill up just enough to get to work but worry about running out midweek? Can I afford fresh vegetables this week, or do I have to settle for canned and processed food that I know isn't healthy but fits the budget? Should I say no when my friends ask me to go out? Because even $15 for dinner feels like a luxury right now. The pressure has seeped into my mental health. There's a constant knot of anxiety in my chest, a shadow that follows me wherever I go. Checking my bank account has become a daily ritual, a test I'm always afraid to take because the numbers never look good enough. The nights are the worst. When the world is quiet, my worries get louder. What if my car breaks down and I can't get to work? What if there's an unexpected bill? What if I lose my job? Sometimes I lie awake for hours, imagining worst-case scenarios, unable to switch off my thoughts. There's also shame. It's hard to admit that I'm struggling when on the surface, I'm just like everyone else, working, living, trying to be responsible. But inside, I feel like I'm failing. I see my friends buying homes, traveling, investing in their futures while I'm barely scraping by. It's isolating. I don't want pity, so I keep this part of my life hidden, but it's exhausting pretending everything is fine. To cope, I've become obsessed with budgeting. Every dollar is tracked. I cut out everything that isn't absolutely necessary, no subscriptions, no eating out, no new clothes. I pick up side gigs when I can, but they wear me out and don't pay enough to make a big difference. I try to find small joys in free things, reading from the library, going for walks, calling a friend, but those moments feel fragile against the constant weight I carry. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. Going back to school to improve my career, buying a place of my own, even saving for retirement, they all seem so distant now. I worry that time is slipping away and I'm losing the chance to build the life I imagined. It's heartbreaking to tell myself, again and again, maybe someday. But even in the darkest moments, I hold on to hope. Hope that things will change, that wages will rise, that policies will support people like me, that the sacrifices I'm making now will pay off someday. Hope that the dreams I postponed are only delayed, not gone forever. Living with this pressure is draining, but hope keeps me moving forward. I'm sharing this story not for sympathy but because I want people to understand what it's like to be caught in a system where expenses outpace income, where survival is a daily struggle, and where the future feels uncertain. And despite it all, I'm still here, still trying, still hoping, still dreaming of better days. I never thought financial pressure would feel like an unshakable shadow, one that clings to me every waking moment, stretching long and dark through every choice I make. But here I am, in my mid-20s, caught in a relentless cycle where the cost of living climbs like an unforgiving tide while my paycheck barely manages to keep my head above water. It's exhausting, and it's lonely, even though so many others are going through the same thing. It still feels like a personal battle I can't win. Every morning, I wake up with a list of small, calculated decisions already swirling in my head. Should I skip the coffee and brew something at home? Can I afford to take the bus instead of an Uber? What if I eat leftovers instead of buying groceries today? These aren't just minor inconveniences, they're the margins I'm trying to carve out just to survive without sinking deeper into debt. I count every dollar like it's a lifeline because, in many ways, it is. I remember when I first started working full-time, fresh out of college. Back then, I had dreams, big dreams. I imagined traveling, buying a small place, maybe even starting my own business someday. But the reality of this economic environment didn't take long to hit me. Rent went up almost as soon as I signed my lease. Grocery prices climbed steadily. Utility bills followed suit. My salary stayed stagnant. Sometimes I feel like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs get heavier. It's not just the numbers, though. It's the feeling of being trapped. Like I'm stuck inside a system designed to push me forward only when I can barely stand, if at all. I see friends posting about new jobs, pay raises, or weekend getaways, and it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind, not because of lack of effort, but because the deck feels stacked against me. I work long hours, sometimes picking up extra shifts or freelance gigs when I can, but it never seems enough. There's always another bill, another unexpected expense, another price increase around the corner. The emotional toll is heavy. Some days, anxiety wraps around me so tight it's hard to breathe. I lie awake at night, calculating what will happen if my car breaks down, if my rent goes up again, if I get sick. It's this constant low-grade fear that saps my energy and makes hope feel fragile, almost naive. I want to believe things will get better, but it's hard to see a clear path out of this maze. Coping has become a daily practice. I've learned to find tiny pockets of joy and simplicity, a quiet walk in the park, a phone call with a close friend, or a well-earned homemade meal. I've started budgeting obsessively, tracking every expense on an app, trying to anticipate the months when things will be tighter and plan accordingly. Sometimes I treat myself to a small luxury, a slice of cake, a new book, but I always do it with a pang of guilt, knowing that money could be better saved or spent elsewhere. I've also become painfully aware of how many dreams I've had to shelve, at least for now. Traveling the world isn't a possibility when airfare alone costs more than my monthly rent. Pursuing further education feels out of reach when tuition is skyrocketing and I'm juggling work and bills just to keep afloat. Even something as simple as upgrading my old laptop or getting new clothes feels like an indulgence I can't justify. There's a quiet mourning in that, grieving the what could have been while trying to keep faith in what still might be. Some nights, I fantasize about hitting a jackpot, winning a lottery, or finding a sudden windfall that could wipe away these worries. Other nights, I sit with the reality and remind myself that resilience isn't about never breaking, but about continuing even when everything feels heavy. I wish more people understood how relentless this pressure can be. It's not about being lazy or irresponsible, it's about an economic system that often rewards the privileged and leaves many of us scrambling to keep up. I want to believe in a future where wages rise with costs, where housing is affordable, and where financial stress doesn't dictate every choice. But until then, I'll keep going, one day, $1, one small decision at a time. The hope I cling to is quiet but persistent. I hope to one day feel free, not just financially, but emotionally free from the constant weight of survival. I hope to travel, to learn, to grow without the chains of money tightening around me. And while those dreams feel distant now, they're the reason I push through the exhaustion and the fear. This story isn't just mine. It's a reality for so many young adults trying to find their footing in a world where expenses race ahead and incomes lag behind. We're not just statistics, we're people with hopes, struggles, and the will to keep dreaming, even when the system makes it hard. I share this not because I have all the answers, but because the weight of financial pressure deserves to be seen and understood, for the struggle to be acknowledged and for the hope to be heard. I never thought I'd feel this way at 26, like I'm stuck in quicksand, sinking slowly but surely, with no solid ground in sight. Every month feels like a battle where the rules are rigged against me. The bills pile up, the rent climbs a little higher, the groceries cost more, and yet my paycheck barely stretches. It's exhausting, mentally, physically, emotionally. I lie awake at night, calculating what can be postponed, what can't, and praying something unexpected doesn't come up, because if it does, I don't know how I'd survive it. I work 2 jobs. Not because I want to, but because I have to. My main job pays decently, but not enough to cover everything. So, I picked up a part-time gig in retail on weekends. Some people might say, well, just get a better job, but it's not that simple. The job market's brutal, especially for someone like me, without advanced degrees or connections. I've sent out dozens of applications, attended networking events, taken free online courses, and still, the offers are scarce or come with conditions that I can't meet, like unpaid internships or jobs that would mean even longer hours and less pay. I feel like I'm running on a treadmill set to a speed I can't control. No matter how fast I run, I don't get anywhere. The economic pressure is like a constant weight on my chest. Even small expenses feel monumental. Last month, my phone broke, and the cheapest replacement I could find wiped out my entire grocery budget for 2 weeks. I had to choose between eating well or staying connected with family and potential job opportunities. I chose the phone. I can't afford to be offline. It's how I look for work, how I keep in touch with my support system, how I apply for government assistance when things get dire. But every choice like this chips away at my peace of mind. Sometimes I think about how different life might have been if I'd grown up in a different economic situation, if my parents had more resources or if I'd had scholarships or better opportunities. But that's not my reality. Instead, I carry this quiet shame when I have to say no to friends who want to go out, or when I skip family gatherings because I can't afford the gas or the meals. It's isolating. I don't want to be the person who's always the one holding back, always the poor friend, but that's what this feels like. The financial pressure doesn't just affect my decisions, it gnaws at my emotional well-being. Anxiety is a constant companion, and there are days when I feel paralyzed by it. I try to push through, keep a positive face, and remind myself that this is temporary. But sometimes, when I'm alone, the despair creeps in. What if this isn't temporary? What if this is how it's going to be forever, paycheck to paycheck, never getting ahead, always one crisis away from disaster? I'm lucky in some ways. I have a supportive group of friends who understand, even if they can't fully grasp it. We swap tips on budgeting apps, share deals, and encourage each other. I've found a few online communities where people share their struggles openly, which helps me feel less alone. But even that support can't erase the financial reality I face daily. I've had to postpone dreams I once thought were a given. Traveling the world? Not anytime soon. Saving for a down payment on a home? A distant fantasy. Further education to improve my career prospects? Maybe, but only if I can find a way to juggle work and expenses without falling apart. Instead, I focus on small victories, paying off a credit card balance, saving a few dollars each month, learning to cook more meals at home. It's not glamorous, but it's something. The thing that keeps me going, though, is hope. Hope that one day, the economy will shift, or I'll land a job that pays fairly for my skills, or I'll find a way to break the cycle. I hold on to that hope tightly, even when it feels fragile. I remind myself that my worth isn't tied to my bank account, even if society makes me feel otherwise. I'm more than my financial struggles, and I want to believe that my future holds more than this relentless grind. But right now, today, I'm here, caught in this system where expenses rise faster than income, where every decision feels like a balancing act on a tightrope, and where the simplest dreams demand the greatest sacrifices. It's hard to admit that, but being honest about it feels necessary. Because maybe, by sharing this, I'm not just bearing my own burden, but also shining a light on a reality that too many of us live every day. And maybe, just maybe, that makes it a little easier to breathe. I don't think anyone really understands what it's like unless you're living it, this constant, gnawing financial pressure that never seems to ease. It's a slow squeeze, almost invisible to others, but it's there every day. From the moment I wake up to the second I fall asleep, the weight of money hangs over me like a dark cloud I can't shake. I'm 27 now. I work full-time, usually more than 40 hours a week. My paycheck is steady, but just steady enough to cover the basics, barely. Rent, utilities, groceries, and the little things that keep me functioning. But no matter how hard I budget or how many extra shifts I pick up, my expenses keep growing faster than my income. It feels like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast I go, I never get closer to the finish line. The economic climate makes every decision in my life a calculation. When I get invited out, I immediately start running numbers in my head. Can I afford the bus fare and still have money left for dinner tomorrow? Should I skip lunch so I can have coffee with a friend? It's exhausting, mentally and emotionally. Sometimes I catch myself declining plans over and over, and the loneliness creeps in, but I can't shake the feeling that if I say yes, I'll regret it financially. Bills come like clockwork, and each one stings a little more than the last. The rent has increased 3 times in the last 2 years, and utilities don't stay steady either. Gas prices fluctuate wildly, and even the grocery store feels like a luxury now. I've learned to buy generic brands, hunt for sales, and cook every meal at home. Eating out is a rare treat, and when I do, guilt follows me home. It's not just the money, it's the mental toll of always feeling behind. I lie awake at night, heart pounding, wondering how I'll cover an emergency if it comes. The anxiety is like a heavy fog that never lifts. Sometimes, I feel so trapped I forget what hope feels like. It's hard to believe in a future when every day is about surviving the present. I've had to postpone dreams I once thought were mine for sure. Traveling the world was supposed to happen in my 20s. I imagined exploring new places, experiencing freedom and growth. Instead, I watch travel vlogs on my phone, bookmarking places I might visit someday, though I'm not sure when that will be. Owning a home? Forget it. The idea of saving a down payment feels like a joke when I can't even build a modest emergency fund. Starting my own business, going back to school, or even taking a weekend off, these are luxuries I can't afford. The feeling of being trapped is the worst part. Like no matter what I do, the system keeps pulling me under. Expenses rise every year, but wages don't keep pace. I'm stuck in a loop where my income is always playing catch-up, and there's no relief in sight. It's hard to explain to people who aren't in this position, because it's invisible. On paper, I'm employed and doing okay. But the reality is a daily grind to stay afloat. To cope, I focus on small things, walking instead of paying for public transport when possible, borrowing books instead of buying them, turning off lights religiously to save on electricity. I've learned to live with less and to find joy in the little moments that don't cost anything, like sunsets, or calls with friends, or music. I also try to be kind to myself, even when the stress feels overwhelming. Despite all this, I hold on to a fragile hope. I believe there has to be a way out, even if it's not clear right now. I imagine a life where I can breathe freely without counting every penny. I dream of a future where financial stability isn't a distant fantasy but a reality I can build toward. It's hard to admit how much this pressure has changed me, how much it's forced me to grow up faster, to sacrifice parts of my youth and my joy. But I'm still here, still trying. This isn't just my story, it's the story of so many young people caught in a system that doesn't seem to care about us. We work hard, but the economic environment is stacked against us in ways we can't always control. Sharing this is my way of saying, this is real. The pressure is real. And it's okay to talk about it openly, because acknowledging the struggle is the first step toward changing it. So here I am, vulnerable and honest, carrying this invisible weight, hoping for better days, and trying to keep moving forward, one day at a time. I'm 26 years old, and some days it feels like I'm barely holding on. The truth is, I'm trapped. Not behind bars, not in a cage, but in a system where my expenses keep climbing faster than my income, and I'm stuck running just to stay in place. Every decision I make feels like walking a tightrope over a bottomless pit, where one wrong step can send me tumbling into crisis. When I left college, I was hopeful. I thought a degree would be my ticket to a stable life, a decent job, a place of my own, maybe even a future to plan for. But the economic reality hit me hard. Rent prices soared, groceries got more expensive, utilities crept up, and suddenly my paycheck stretched thinner than ever before. I watched the numbers in my bank account like a hawk, calculating and recalculating, trying to find ways to make it work. But it's exhausting. Every month, no matter how hard I try, I feel like I'm falling behind. Daily life is a constant balancing act. Do I pay the electric bill in full, or do I try to stretch it out and risk the company cutting me off? Can I afford to fill the gas tank all the way, or just enough to get by? Should I skip my morning coffee because it's an unnecessary expense, even though that little ritual is one of the few comforts I have? I don't eat out anymore, that's a luxury I can't afford. I cook at home as much as possible, but even then, fresh produce is pricey, so it's often cheaper, less healthy options. I've stopped going to the doctor unless it's an emergency because the copays and medications just aren't something I can fit into my budget. This financial pressure isn't just about numbers, it's about what it does to me inside. Anxiety has become a constant companion. I can't remember the last time I slept through the night without waking up to the worry of what if. What if my car breaks down and I can't get to work? What if I get sick and have to miss shifts? What if rent goes up again and I have nowhere else to turn? The stress feels like a weight on my chest that never lifts. Sometimes I get overwhelmed and shut down. I don't want to think about it, but the bills pile up and the worries grow. It's lonely, too. I don't talk about this with many people because I don't want to seem like I'm complaining or failing. Society teaches us to hide financial struggles, to pretend we're doing fine. So I smile, I nod, I say I'm good when friends ask. But inside, I'm scared, frustrated, and tired. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I wanted to go back to school and get a graduate degree to open up better job opportunities. I dreamed of traveling, seeing the world, meeting new people. I thought about buying a home someday, maybe even starting a family. But those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful but out of reach. I tell myself, maybe someday, but sometimes I wonder if that someday will ever come. To cope, I've learned to be hyper-focused on budgeting. Every expense is scrutinized, every dollar accounted for. I picked up side gigs, working late nights or weekends, but it's a grind and it's hard to keep up the energy. I've found small moments of joy in simple things, a walk in the park, a call with a friend, a book borrowed from the library. They don't erase the stress, but they remind me that life still has light. Despite it all, I hold on to hope. I hope for systemic change, for fair wages, for affordable housing, for a world where young adults aren't drowning in debt and worry. I hope that the sacrifices I'm making now are paving the way for a better future. Most of all, I hope I'm not alone, that by sharing my story, someone else out there feels seen, understood, and maybe a little less trapped. This financial pressure is real and it's brutal, but it hasn't broken me yet. I'm still here. Still trying. Still hoping. Still dreaming, even if those dreams have to wait a little longer. It's strange how every day can feel both exhausting and invisible at the same time. I wake up, already dreading the pile of bills waiting to be opened, like unopened letters from some relentless future that's inching closer with no mercy. I'm 27, working 2 part-time jobs, and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck. Not because I'm careless or lazy, far from it. I'm stuck in this loop where no matter how hard I work, the money slips through my fingers like sand, and the cost of just existing keeps climbing faster than my income ever will. Some mornings, I lie in bed longer than I should, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all pressed down on me. Rent, utilities, food, phone bill, transportation, and then the small extras that aren't really extras but necessities, like replacing my worn-out shoes or getting a prescription refill. It all adds up to more than I earn. I know this is the reality for so many people my age, but that doesn't make it any easier to swallow. When I was a kid, I dreamed big. I thought by my late 20s I'd have some savings, maybe even be halfway to buying a small place of my own. Instead, I'm here, renting a tiny apartment in a neighborhood that's slowly getting gentrified, feeling like I'm just treading water. Every price increase, a rise in rent, a hike in grocery bills, an unexpected car repair, isn't just a setback. It's a reminder that I'm caught in a system that's designed to keep people like me locked in place, always struggling, never quite able to break free. I've learned to be hyper-aware of every expense. I track everything I spend down to the last cent, hoping I might find some magic combination of cuts that will make it all work. But it's like trying to fill a bucket with holes. I can skip buying lunch out for a week, but the electric bill will still come. I can ride my bike to save on bus fare, but my shoes wear out faster, and then I have to replace them. There's no perfect formula, just endless compromises that chip away at my peace of mind. Social life has suffered too. I often turn down invitations to hang out because I simply can't afford it. Even something as simple as grabbing coffee with friends feels like a luxury I shouldn't indulge in. I worry about sounding like I'm complaining or making excuses, but the truth is, these small pleasures have become weighty decisions. It's lonely sometimes. The things that should be easy, sharing a meal, going to a movie, or just relaxing without worrying about money, are rare. The stress doesn't stay neatly contained in my budget spreadsheets. It leaks into everything. Some nights, I lie awake, heart pounding, wondering how I'll cover the rent next month. Will I have to borrow money from my family again? Will I have to ask for an advance on my paycheck? The uncertainty gnaws at me, and the constant pressure makes it hard to dream about the future. It's like I'm stuck in a fog, just trying to survive the day. I want to be honest about the toll this takes on my mental health. There's this gnawing anxiety that never really lets up, like a low hum in the background of every moment. Some days, I feel hopeless, like I'm trapped in quicksand, and the more I struggle, the deeper I sink. I've had to seek counseling to cope because I can't do this alone. It's hard to admit, but sometimes I cry over things that shouldn't make me cry, like the stress of an unexpected expense or the loneliness that comes with feeling invisible. Yet, despite everything, I hold on to hope. I think hope is all I have sometimes. I dream of a day when I won't have to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. I imagine a future where I have enough money saved to move somewhere safe and stable, maybe even start a family without the constant fear of financial ruin. Those dreams are tucked away in quiet moments when I allow myself to believe in something better. To keep going, I've had to find small ways to reclaim control. I cook at home more, learning to make simple meals stretch for days. I've started journaling as a way to unload the mental weight. And I talk to friends who understand, those who are also fighting to make ends meet in this relentless economy. There's a strange comfort in knowing I'm not alone, even if the struggle is deeply personal. I don't want pity. I just want people to understand what it's like to live in this pressure cooker, where every dollar, every decision feels like it could tip you over the edge. I want to be seen not as a failure, but as someone trying her best against a system that wasn't built for people like me. It's hard to keep going sometimes, but I do. Because giving up isn't an option. Not when the future still holds a flicker of possibility, no matter how dim. So, I keep waking up each day, facing the numbers, the bills, the rising costs, and the mounting anxiety. I keep trying, even when it feels impossible, because somewhere beneath this exhaustion is a stubborn spark that refuses to be snuffed out. Maybe one day, that spark will grow into something brighter. Until then, I carry it quietly, a fragile hope in a world that often feels too heavy to bear. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up every morning with this familiar weight pressing down on my chest, not just the grogginess from too few hours of sleep, but the sinking, gnawing anxiety about money. It's like the moment my eyes open, my brain is already running the numbers: rent, bills, groceries, gas. And somehow, it's never enough. No matter how much I hustle, the expenses just keep stretching out ahead of me like an endless road I can't seem to get off. Some days, it feels like I'm trapped in a system that's rigged against me. The cost of living creeps up faster than my paycheck ever could. Rent went up again this year, and my boss said raises are on hold because the company's tight on cash. I get it, they say. Inflation is brutal. But what about me? I'm stuck between trying to keep my head above water and wanting to live a life that doesn't revolve solely around scraping by. I remember the first time I truly felt the pinch. I had just started a new job, full of hope and dreams. I was eager to make a difference, build a future. But the paycheck I brought home barely covered the basics. I had to choose between paying for my phone bill or buying fresh vegetables. I opted for the phone because without it, I'd lose any chance to apply for better jobs, or even keep in touch with friends who remind me that I'm not alone in this. It felt humiliating. Like a slow erosion of my dignity. Every purchase feels like a strategic decision now. A battle between what I need and what I want, though those categories have blurred over time. I stopped going to concerts because tickets are too expensive. A night out with friends? Forget it, even splitting the bill on cheap drinks adds up. I learned to cook at home because takeout was a luxury I couldn't justify. But even then, the rising prices at the grocery store mean I have to carefully plan meals to avoid waste and save pennies wherever I can. The hardest part isn't just the money, it's the feeling of being stuck. Like no matter how much I work, or how frugal I get, the future I imagine slips further away. I had dreams once, traveling, owning my own place, maybe going back to school. Now those dreams feel like distant planets, shining but unreachable. Every time I think about them, there's a tug of hope and pain. Hope because I still want those things. Pain because I have to put them on hold indefinitely. Financial stress has become a constant companion. It affects how I sleep, how I eat, even how I interact with people. I catch myself withdrawing from friends, not because I don't want to be around them, but because I'm embarrassed to admit how tight things are. I don't want to be the one who always says no or cancels plans last minute. So I put on a smile, but inside, I'm often running on empty. There are moments when the pressure feels like too much, when the bills stack up and the rent due date looms like a storm cloud. In those moments, panic creeps in. I wonder if I'll ever be free of this cycle, or if I'm destined to live paycheck to paycheck forever. It's a lonely place, even in a crowded room. But I've learned to cope in small ways. I reach out to friends who understand and don't judge. I keep a journal where I can vent without holding back. Sometimes, I let myself daydream about the future, even if it feels unrealistic. Those small flickers of hope keep me going, remind me that this isn't the end of my story. I also remind myself that this economic pressure isn't a reflection of my worth or my potential. The system might be broken, but that doesn't mean I am. It's a daily struggle, but it's not a defeat. Someday, I hope to look back on this time and see it as the chapter where I learned resilience. For now, I'm taking it one day, one paycheck, one small victory at a time. Because even when trapped, there's still a part of me that refuses to give up. I never imagined that my 20s would feel like a constant battle just to stay afloat. But here I am, 26 years old, juggling a full-time job and a mountain of bills, caught in a trap where my expenses seem to outpace my income every single month. It's like I'm stuck in quicksand. No matter how hard I struggle or how fast I work, I sink deeper. When I graduated college, I was hopeful. I thought if I worked hard, budgeted wisely, and kept my head down, I'd be able to build a stable life. But the reality turned out to be so much harsher. Rent keeps climbing, sometimes faster than I get a raise. Groceries, utilities, gas, they all rise too, and not by a little. Just this past year, I saw my electric bill double and the price at the pump spike, even though I'm driving less to save money. Meanwhile, my paycheck barely stretches further than it did a year ago. Inflation feels like a monster eating away at any progress I try to make. I make decisions now with a ledger in my mind. When I wake up, I ask myself, can I afford coffee on the way to work today? Should I eat leftovers for lunch or risk spending more if I go out? When friends ask to hang out, I want to say yes, but my wallet often says no. I'm tired of declining invitations, but I don't want to risk putting myself further in the hole. The fear of unexpected expenses looms over everything. A doctor's visit, a car repair, or even a forgotten subscription fee can set me back weeks. The emotional toll is crushing. It's hard to explain the exhaustion that comes from living paycheck to paycheck, from the anxiety that curls in my stomach as bills pile up. Some nights, I lie awake worrying, heart pounding, imagining worst-case scenarios. What if I lose my job? What if my car breaks down on the way to work? What if I fall sick and can't afford medicine? It's like walking a tightrope without a safety net. I feel trapped in a system that seems designed to keep people like me scrambling. Expenses grow faster than wages, and opportunities to get ahead feel out of reach. The frustration and helplessness build up inside me until some days it's hard to even get out of bed. I keep asking myself how I'm supposed to build a future when the present is so unstable. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. Buying a home, which once felt like a real possibility, now seems like a distant fantasy. Saving for a trip, or investing in further education, or even something as simple as replacing my aging laptop, all these things feel like luxuries I can't afford. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming about quitting everything and starting fresh somewhere cheaper, but even that feels impossible with the debts and obligations I have. To cope, I've learned to live frugally, cutting back on everything from meals out to daily treats. I plan every purchase and try to build small savings buffers, even if they're tiny. I remind myself to focus on the small victories, like making it through the month without going over budget or finding a way to fix something instead of replacing it. I talk to friends who understand and sometimes vent to family, though I don't want to burden them. Music and books become little escapes, moments of peace amidst the storm. Despite all this, I still hold on to hope. I want to believe there's a way out of this cycle, even if it feels far away right now. I dream of a future where I don't have to say no to life, where I can pursue passions without the constant shadow of money chasing me. I want to feel secure enough to plan long-term, to buy a home, start a family, or invest in myself. Being honest about all this feels like a relief, even if it's vulnerable. So many young people are going through the same thing, but it's rarely talked about openly. We're told to work harder or be patient, but the system isn't built for patience when every day feels like a struggle to survive. This is my story, raw, unfiltered, and real. I'm trying to keep moving forward, even when the weight of financial pressure threatens to overwhelm me. One day at a time, I hold on to the hope that better days will come. Until then, I keep fighting quietly, doing what I can, and hoping my efforts will someday be enough to break free. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when the feeling of being trapped started to sink in. Maybe it was when I looked at my bank account after paying rent and bills, and realized there was barely anything left to cover food for the week. Or maybe it was the first time I had to skip a doctor's appointment because I just couldn't afford the copay. Being 27 and feeling like you're drowning in a financial storm that never seems to calm, that's the truth of my life right now. I graduated college full of hope, thinking a degree would be my ticket to stability. I imagined a job that would let me pay my rent, cover my essentials, maybe even save a little. But the world I stepped into felt different than the one I was promised. The cost of living keeps rising, rent, groceries, transportation, utilities, all increasing faster than any raise I get. Sometimes it feels like the system itself is designed to keep me in place, working harder but never catching up. Every day, I'm forced to make choices I never imagined I'd have to. Do I spend what little money I have on gas to get to work, or do I risk taking the bus and arriving late? Can I afford to fix the leaking faucet in my apartment, or do I just let it drip and hope it doesn't get worse? Do I buy fresh vegetables, or stick to cheap, filling carbs because they stretch further? These aren't just money decisions, they affect my health, my mood, and my energy. It's exhausting. And it's not just the money. The constant pressure weighs on my mental health. I lie awake at night thinking about how I'll manage next month's bills, wondering if I'll be able to cover an unexpected expense without falling behind. The anxiety sometimes spirals so much that I lose focus at work or feel isolated from friends who don't seem to understand how hard it is just to keep your head above water. I often feel invisible in this struggle. It's not the kind of thing people talk about openly. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or making excuses. But here I am, being honest with myself, trying to process how financial stress shapes every part of my life. The shame sometimes creeps in, like I'm failing because I can't make it work better. But it's more than that. It's a system that feels rigged. I work hard, but the rising costs and stagnant wages keep me trapped. Because of this, so many dreams have had to be put on hold. I wanted to travel, to explore new places and cultures before settling down. I dreamed of buying a car, something reliable, so I wouldn't have to worry about unreliable buses or expensive rideshares. Even saving for a place of my own feels like a fantasy. The idea of getting ahead feels like a distant, blurry light. To cope, I've learned to be incredibly strict with my budget. I track every dollar, every expense, and try to find small ways to cut costs without sacrificing my sanity. I cook at home, buy used clothes, skip social outings, and sometimes go without things that others might take for granted. I pick up side gigs when I can, but that often means less sleep, less time with friends, and even more exhaustion. What keeps me going is hope, fragile as it is. Hope that one day the system will change, that wages will rise with the cost of living, and that stability will be more than a dream. I hope to see a future where I don't have to say no so often, where my efforts feel rewarded, and where I can finally breathe without the constant weight of financial pressure. This story isn't just mine, it's the story of so many young adults trying to survive in a world that feels like it's moving faster than we can keep up with. It's a daily battle, but I keep fighting because giving up isn't an option. I'm still here, still trying, and still hoping. I never thought I'd be this tired. Not just physically, though I am, waking up every morning feeling like I've been punched in the gut by worry, but mentally, emotionally, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones and lingers no matter how many deep breaths or cups of coffee you take. I'm 26, living in a city that's supposed to be full of opportunities, but mostly it feels like a giant pressure cooker. Every day I'm caught in this relentless tug-of-war between what I need and what I can afford. It started right after college. I had a degree, a decent job, and dreams, big dreams. I wanted to travel, maybe go back to school someday, get a place of my own that didn't feel like a shoebox, save up enough to not worry about emergencies. But the economy had other plans. Rent shot up, groceries got more expensive, and my paycheck? It barely kept pace with inflation. Every month, my expenses creep higher while my income feels like it's stuck in slow motion, like I'm running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. At first, I tried to be optimistic. I tracked every penny, cut out nights out with friends, switched to the cheapest phone plan, even started cooking all my meals at home, even when I hated it. But it's exhausting to live that way. Sometimes I look at my bank account and feel this sinking feeling in my chest, like I'm on the edge of a cliff and the ground beneath me is crumbling. There's always another bill, another price hike, another unexpected expense waiting to pull me under. I remember one day recently, standing in the grocery store, staring at the prices on the shelf. The cereal I used to buy was suddenly a few dollars more. I had to decide between that and a loaf of bread. It sounds small, but that moment felt huge. It's humiliating to weigh basic necessities like that. I felt trapped. Not by choice, but by a system that seems designed to keep people like me scrambling. Sometimes I try to remind myself that I'm lucky to have a job at all, especially when I see friends struggling to find work or stuck in dead-end gigs. But gratitude only goes so far when you're constantly stressed about money. It's hard to enjoy anything when there's this constant cloud hanging over you. Even simple things, like going out for coffee or buying a birthday gift, become stressful decisions. I've missed weddings and birthdays because I just couldn't afford it. Those moments feel like losses too, little fractures in my relationships with people I care about. The emotional toll is heavy. There are nights I lie awake, heart pounding, imagining what would happen if I lost my job or got sick. I don't have family to fall back on, and the thought of sliding into debt terrifies me. I've seen friends sink into it, and I know how quickly it can spiral. I feel like I'm walking a tightrope every day, trying not to fall, but with no safety net beneath. Coping is a constant battle. I've learned to find small pockets of joy, a walk in the park, an old movie, talking with a close friend who understands, but those moments are fleeting. Sometimes I just push through with sheer willpower, telling myself this is temporary, that things will get better. But the truth is, I don't know when, or if, they will. My dreams have had to be postponed. The idea of saving for a down payment on a home feels laughable. Travel? A distant fantasy. Even continuing education, something I once thought was within reach, now feels like a luxury I can't afford. I try to keep those dreams alive in my head, but they're getting harder to hold on to. It's like trying to hold on to smoke, it slips through my fingers every time. I think about the future a lot. What does it look like? Will I always be stuck in this cycle? Sometimes I wonder if I'm just fooling myself by hoping for change. But deep down, there's a stubborn part of me that refuses to give up. I want to believe that things can get better, that I can build a life where money isn't the constant shadow over everything. I want to find stability, peace of mind, the chance to breathe without fear. Writing this out feels like a small relief, like I'm finally naming the thing that's been so heavy inside me. Maybe sharing this is the first step toward feeling less alone. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that this struggle isn't just mine, it's the reality for so many young people trying to make their way in a world that seems stacked against us. So here I am. Tired, anxious, but still hoping. Still trying. Still dreaming, even if those dreams have to wait a little longer. Because giving up isn't an option. Not yet. I don't even remember when it started to feel like I was sinking. Maybe it was the first time I opened my bank app and saw a balance so low it made my chest tighten. Or the night I skipped dinner because the groceries I bought had to last me the entire week, and I just didn't have the money for more. It's been years now, this slow, steady pressure squeezing me tighter every day, and it's hard to say whether I'm just tired or if I'm actually stuck. I'm in my mid-20s. I have a job, steady enough, but nothing spectacular, and I try to keep my head above water. The paycheck comes in, and before I even get a chance to breathe, bills start stacking up: rent, utilities, phone, transportation. Everything feels like it's growing, like I'm running on a treadmill where the speed keeps increasing, but my legs just can't keep up. It's the kind of pressure that doesn't just live in your wallet, it lives in your bones, in the small voice inside you that whispers, "You're not enough, not doing enough, not getting anywhere." I grew up with dreams. Big ones. I wanted to travel, to go back to school someday, to move into a place that felt like home, not just a cramped apartment with peeling paint and noisy neighbors. I imagined weekends spent exploring new cafes or catching a movie without worrying about the cost of popcorn. But now, those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful but impossible to reach. The truth is, I've had to put so many things on hold. Every time I think about investing in something that might make life better, I remind myself, is this worth the risk? Because if I mess up even a little, it's not just a setback. It's a crisis. I often wonder if this is how it's supposed to be. Everyone talks about the grind, the hustle, the sacrifice, but rarely do they say how lonely it can feel. You smile on the outside, but inside you're wrestling with exhaustion and anxiety. You become an expert at hiding the cracks. Friends invite me out, and I say no because the $15 for drinks could pay for groceries or help with a bill. I've lost track of the last time I bought new clothes or treated myself to something just for fun. It feels selfish when every dollar counts toward survival. The economy around me doesn't help. Prices rise faster than wages, and every month it's the same story. I try to budget harder, cut back more, but the numbers never balance out. Inflation eats away at my purchasing power, and job security feels like a fragile myth. I'm constantly scanning the news, hoping for some relief or a sign that things might improve, but it's hard not to feel forgotten in the headlines, like these struggles are invisible to the powers that be. Financial pressure shapes every choice I make, sometimes in ways I don't even notice until later. I delay going to the doctor because I'm afraid of the bills. I skip social events because I don't want to admit I'm broke. I sometimes feel ashamed to even talk about money because it makes me feel like I'm failing at adulthood. There's this unspoken rule that you should have it all figured out by now, and I don't. I'm just trying to survive. At night, when the world quiets down, the worry creeps in. What if I never get ahead? What if this paycheck-to-paycheck existence is all there is? Sometimes I imagine what freedom would feel like, not having to choose between a bill and food, not waking up with a pit in my stomach. It feels like a faraway place, a luxury for someone else. But I still hold on to hope, fragile as it is. I remind myself that this moment isn't the whole story. There's a part of me that still dreams, even if it's quieter now. Coping means small victories. I've learned to be resourceful, to find joy in the little things: a walk in the park, a phone call with a friend, a quiet moment with a book borrowed from the library. I try to celebrate those moments because they remind me I'm still human, still capable of happiness beyond the numbers. Sometimes I journal, spilling out all the frustration and fear onto the page, trying to make sense of it all. I also lean on the people who care, though that's not always easy. I don't want to be a burden, but I've realized that letting others in can lighten the load. Even just sharing the truth, I'm struggling, feels like a small rebellion against the loneliness of financial stress. It's a reminder that I'm not alone, even when the world tells me otherwise. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that money is not just about dollars and cents. It's about dignity, peace of mind, and the freedom to dream. It's about not feeling trapped in a system that moves faster than you can keep up. I'm trying, every day, to find a way forward, to rewrite what's possible for myself. The path isn't clear, and some days it feels like I'm just barely holding on. But deep down, I know I'm more than the sum of my struggles. This is my story, honest and raw, about living with ongoing financial pressure in a world that demands more than I sometimes have to give. It's about the weight of invisible burdens and the stubborn flicker of hope that keeps me moving forward, even when the future feels uncertain. Because maybe, just maybe, that hope is the thing that will carry me through. I wake up every morning with this sinking feeling, like I'm already behind before the day even begins. I'm 27, working 2 jobs, and still it feels like I'm treading water in a storm. The bills come in faster than my paycheck, and somehow the cost of everything seems to rise relentlessly while my income stays the same, or barely inches forward. It's exhausting, physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm stuck in a loop where expenses grow faster than what I make, and I can't see the way out. When I was younger, I had dreams, big ones. I thought college would be my ticket, that a degree would guarantee a stable life, maybe even a home of my own someday. But reality has been harsh. The economic landscape isn't the same as it was for my parents. Rent is sky high, even the smallest apartments cost a fortune, and utilities just keep creeping up. Food prices keep climbing, and gas? Don't even get me started. It's like everything conspires to make the simplest things unaffordable. I'm constantly making choices based on money, what feels like what can I afford rather than what do I want. Sometimes it's small decisions. Do I buy coffee on my way to work or make it at home? Can I grab lunch with friends or should I pack leftovers? Bigger decisions are even tougher. Should I repair my old phone or stretch out the time with the broken screen? Can I really afford the medical checkup I've been putting off? Each choice chips away at my spirit. There's this gnawing feeling of being trapped, like the system itself is rigged against people like me. No matter how hard I work, I don't get ahead. Expenses creep up every month faster than my raises, and I'm just running in place. It's like a treadmill that keeps speeding up while my legs get heavier. The weight of this pressure doesn't just stay financial, it leaks into everything. I worry about money when I'm with my family, when I'm supposed to be relaxing, when I try to sleep. Sometimes it feels like I'm carrying the world on my shoulders. Emotionally, it's draining. I feel embarrassed when I can't participate in social plans. I get frustrated with myself for not doing better. And I'm scared that if I lose my job or something unexpected happens, I'll have nowhere to turn. The constant stress makes me feel isolated, like I'm the only one struggling this way, even though I know so many others are in the same boat. To cope, I've had to get creative. I track every penny with budgeting apps, clip coupons, and use discount codes. I've learned to live very simply, canceling subscriptions, cooking at home almost every night, and resisting the urge to buy things I want but don't need. I've even started sharing rides and buying second-hand clothes. Sometimes I feel like I'm living a life defined more by restrictions than freedom. I talk to a few close friends about it, and their support helps. We swap tips and vent, trying to remind each other that we're not alone. Still, there are dreams I've had to push to the back burner indefinitely. I wanted to travel, just once, to see the world beyond my city. I hope to start saving for a down payment on a home. Even thinking about investing in courses or certifications that could help me grow professionally feels out of reach. These aren't just postponements, they feel like parts of my future slipping away. Sometimes I feel a deep sense of guilt for dreaming about more when I have so little to spare. But those dreams are what keep me going. I try to hold on to hope that if I keep working, keep managing, keep pushing, eventually the tide will turn. I want to believe there's a light at the end of this tunnel, even if it's faint and distant. I know the economic challenges I face aren't my fault, and I'm not alone in this struggle. The system doesn't always seem designed for people like me to thrive. But despite the pressure, the fear, and the sacrifices, I'm still here, trying. Trying to find balance in chaos, trying to protect my mental health, trying to keep hope alive that one day, I'll break free from this cycle. This is my reality, raw and honest. It's a story I don't often share because it feels vulnerable. But I think it's important, because so many young adults are fighting similar battles, silently carrying the weight of financial pressure. And maybe, if we talk about it, we can start to find a way forward together. Until then, I'll keep waking up each day, making the hard decisions, and hoping for a future where my dreams don't have to wait anymore. I never imagined that money would shape my life this much, or this painfully. It's like every day, I'm walking a tightrope stretched over an endless chasm of bills, rent, and basic needs. And no matter how carefully I balance, the rope keeps getting thinner, and the chasm feels wider. I'm 27 now, working full-time, juggling side gigs when I can, but it never seems to be enough. The more I earn, the more I have to spend, and the gap only grows. Growing up, I thought that if I worked hard, got a decent job, and managed my money responsibly, I'd have some stability. A little freedom to breathe. But that's not how it turned out. Inflation has pushed everything up: rent, groceries, gas, even the coffee I try to treat myself to now and then. My paycheck feels like a cruel joke sometimes, stretched thin and stretched out to cover the essentials, with little left over for anything else. I start my mornings waking up in my cramped one-bedroom apartment in the city, where rent eats up nearly half my income. I pay it first thing, every month, and it's a mix of relief and dread. Relief that I have a roof, dread that it's so costly, and that I can't imagine ever affording more. After rent, there's utilities, internet, phone bills, everything adding up to a mountain I'm climbing every single month. Food is next, and even buying groceries feels like a calculation of how much I can squeeze out without breaking. Sometimes I catch myself staring at the grocery shelves, counting prices in my head, debating whether I can afford the fresh produce or if I should settle for cheaper, less healthy options. It feels like a constant compromise, and it wears me down. I want to eat well, to take care of myself, but it feels like a luxury I can't afford. My social life has shrunk to almost nothing. Going out with friends means spending money I don't have, so I often say no. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching life happen from behind a glass wall, everyone else able to go out, travel, enjoy small luxuries, while I'm stuck here counting pennies. Birthdays, celebrations, weekend plans, things I once took for granted are now sources of stress. I want to say yes, to feel included, but the truth is, I just can't. This financial pressure isn't just about money, it's about the emotional weight that sits heavy on my chest every day. There's this gnawing anxiety, a sense of helplessness that creeps in when I look at my bank account and see the balance shrinking faster than it can grow. Sometimes I lie awake at night, wondering if I'm making any progress at all or just spinning my wheels in place. It's exhausting, mentally and physically. I cope by trying to keep perspective, reminding myself that this situation is temporary, that I'm not alone. There are others out there who feel the same squeeze, and somehow that knowledge helps, even if just a little. I talk about it sometimes with close friends, and those conversations help me feel less isolated. But mostly, I carry it quietly, like a secret burden I can't fully share because it feels too vulnerable. Dreams, once so vivid and attainable, now feel distant. I've put off moving out of this tiny apartment into something bigger or nicer because the rent is already high, and I can't risk it. I used to want to travel, see the world, chase experiences that make life feel full. But that feels like a fantasy now, something for later, when I have more money, more freedom, more security. I think about going back to school to improve my career prospects, but tuition costs and lost income make that almost impossible right now. Even buying a reliable car or saving for emergencies feels out of reach. I'm stuck in this cycle where expenses grow faster than my income, and the system feels designed to keep me here, working harder but never quite getting ahead. It's not that I'm not grateful for what I have. I'm thankful to have a job, to live in a city I love, to have a few friends who understand. But the truth is, the constant pressure chips away at my sense of hope. Sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in a tide of financial stress, and every breath requires more effort. Despite all this, I still hold on to a quiet hope that one day, things will change. Maybe a promotion, a new opportunity, or a shift in the economy will give me a break. I dream of a life where money doesn't dictate every choice, where I can afford to take care of myself and enjoy the small joys without guilt or fear. Until then, I keep moving forward, step by step. I budget fiercely, celebrate small wins like paying off a credit card or finding a cheaper grocery store. I remind myself that survival is a kind of strength, even if it doesn't look glamorous. This story isn't unique, and that's both comforting and heartbreaking. So many of us are caught in this relentless system where costs outpace earnings, and dreams get postponed indefinitely. But sharing this feels important, because it's real, and it's happening. And maybe, just maybe, opening up about it is a step toward breaking free. It's been years since I first felt the weight of money not quite stretching far enough, but lately, it's like the air in the room is getting thinner with every bill I open. I'm 27 now, and I've worked hard to carve out a life that feels stable, or at least, that's what I keep telling myself. The truth is, stability has been more of a mirage than a reality for as long as I can remember. The economic environment around me doesn't make it any easier. Prices rise, rent climbs, and wages crawl forward at a snail's pace. Every month feels like I'm treading water in a sea that's slowly rising. Some days, I wake up with a knot in my stomach, just thinking about the upcoming expenses: rent, utilities, groceries, the car payment, phone bill, the medical copay I've been pushing off, and the list goes on. The paycheck that once seemed like enough feels like a single drop trying to fill an ocean. And when you live like that, every choice feels heavy, like you're balancing on a thin ledge, afraid that one wrong step could send you tumbling into chaos. I remember last month when the rent went up again, an extra $50. That might not sound like much, but for me, it meant cutting back on things that keep me feeling human. I canceled my gym membership, which I loved because it was my small sanctuary. Exercise helped keep the anxiety at bay, but now it just felt like another luxury I couldn't afford. I started taking longer walks outside instead, but it's not the same. The gym was a small anchor in the storm of my life, and without it, the days feel longer and heavier. Food has become a constant source of stress. I've learned to become an expert at stretching $1 at the grocery store. Frozen vegetables instead of fresh, rice and beans instead of meat, buying the generic brands. I'm proud of how resourceful I've become, but it's exhausting to always be calculating, always strategizing. I sometimes look at friends who order takeout without a second thought, or buy new clothes just because they want to, and I feel this gnawing mix of envy and frustration. Why can't I have that kind of freedom? Why does every dollar I earn feel like a prisoner chained to an endless list of necessities? The emotional toll is hard to put into words. There's a persistent undercurrent of anxiety that runs through my days, a low hum of dread that I try to drown out but never quite escape. At times, it feels like I'm carrying a backpack filled with bricks, and every time I think I'm making progress, someone just adds another brick. Medical bills from a minor injury last year still hang over me. My car, which I rely on to get to work, is on its last legs, and I don't know how long it will last. The thought of an unexpected breakdown sends my mind spinning into worst-case scenarios. I've had to postpone so many dreams. For years, I wanted to go back to school, to finish the degree I put on hold after my family's financial situation got tight. I imagined finally getting that diploma, maybe landing a better job with benefits and some semblance of security. But between juggling my current job and paying the bills, the thought of tuition, textbooks, and lost income from not working feels like a cruel joke. I tell myself it's just a temporary delay, but deep down I worry about what temporary really means. Vacations, hobbies, nights out with friends, all luxuries I boxed up and put away. I miss the simple joy of spontaneity, the thrill of doing something just for fun without having to check if I can afford it first. Sometimes I lie awake at night thinking about the person I might have been if money wasn't always the barrier. Would I be happier? Less anxious? Or would life just find another way to test me? Coping has become an art form of its own. I lean heavily on the small things that don't cost much but give me a flicker of relief: late-night phone calls with my best friend, who listens without judgment, journaling to untangle the mess in my head, cooking a simple meal with the few ingredients I can afford and savoring it like it's a feast. I've also started meditation, trying to carve out moments of calm in the chaos. It helps, but the worry always creeps back in once I'm done. Sometimes, when the weight of it all feels unbearable, I remind myself that I'm not alone. So many people my age are navigating this same relentless grind, trying to hold on to hope in a system that feels rigged. That shared struggle is a strange kind of comfort, like we're all sinking together, but at least we know we're not invisible. Despite everything, I haven't given up on hope. I still dream about a day when money isn't the master of my decisions. A day when I can breathe without counting costs, when I can finally chase passions that have been sidelined, when I can feel truly free. I imagine a small apartment of my own, filled with plants and books, a job that pays enough to live without constant fear, maybe even a trip somewhere far away just for the joy of it. But those dreams feel distant right now, like stars just out of reach, shining but faint. I'm trying to keep moving forward, even if it's slow and uncertain. I remind myself that surviving this is a form of resistance, that every small step I take matters. And maybe one day, the tide will turn, and the bricks in my backpack will lighten. Until then, I keep going, because what else is there? I'm learning to find strength in vulnerability, to be honest about how hard this is without letting it define me completely. The system might be stacked against me, but I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping, still dreaming. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.